والآن ندعو الأستاذ الدكتور عبد السلام أحمد مدير الجامعة الإسلامية لإلقاء كلمة الترحيب، فليتفضل مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. ضيفنا العزيز سعادة الدكتور طارق سويدان وأهله سعادة طارق رمضان. أنا كنت أفكر عن الجملة التالية، فآسف جدا دكتور طارق رمضان وأهله الكريم والأساتذة والإخوة والشيوخ والطلاب والطالبات، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن المجال لا يتسع لكلام طويل، فأقول باختصار شديد: نحن الإدارة والأساتذة والطلاب في الجامعة الإسلامية والأساتذة وأخيرا بعد جهودنا المستمرة وافق الدكتور على قبول دعوتنا وقد وصل إلينا اليوم الحمد لله. والدكتور كما تعلمون هو مفكر كبير، سجل حضوره في مجالات العلوم والشؤون الأكاديمية، وهو علم من أعلام الفكر الإسلامي المعاصر، وشخصية فذة تتسم بالتفكير الإبداعي والابتكار والتفكير النقدي. فهذا الذي جعلنا تواقين إلى الاستماع به والاستماع إليه. فأنا لا أريد أن أطيل الكلمات، فعنواننا اليوم كما تعلمون نظام التعليم الإسلامي في العصر الحديث أو منظومة التعليم الإسلامي. فنحن نرى أن الأستاذ الدكتور طارق رمضان هو أحق وأجدر بتناول ومعالجة هذا العنوان، وخاصة نحن في الهند ومنظومة التعليم الإسلامي في الهند وخارج الهند في أمس الحاجة إلى إعادة النظر أو إلى إعادة السياعة أو إلى إعادة التعريف أو إعادة البناء. لا يكفيه الإصلاح السطحي أو التطوير فقط، بل يحتاج هذه المنظومة الموجودة حاليا في الهند وخارج الهند تحتاج إلى إعادة بنائها إن شاء الله. فهذه من تخصصات ضيفنا العزيز، سيتحدث حول هذا الموضوع المهم، وإن شاء الله ستكون كلمته في اللغة الإنجليزية، فكلكم تفهمون وتعرفون اللغة الإنجليزية، والأسئلة والأجوبة interaction إن شاء الله ستكون في اللغة العربية والإنجليزية. فأكتفي بهذا وأرحب بضيفنا العزيز إلى الجامعة الإسلامية وإلى كيرلا، كما أرحب بأهله إلى الجامعة وإلى ولايتنا وإلى الهند، وأرحب بكم جميعا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Brothers and sisters, now please join me in welcoming Professor Tariq Ramadan, one of the most celebrated thought leaders of our time, to talk on redefining Islamic education in the fast emerging world.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أيتها الأخوات أيها الإخوة أحييكم بتحية الإسلام تحية من عند الله مباركة طيبة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I first want to thank the university and the dean and all the organizers and you for being here today. Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah anna kulla khair. And the topic is not an easy one. And as it was said, inshallah, talk will be and you can ask your questions afterward, so keep them. Let me start with reminding you one thing, as it is my first visit in Kerala, it's the first visit in the region. I have a special fatwa. And the special fatwa that I have wherever I go, as I saw that you like clapping, is to avoid clapping during the talk and after the talk. Not because clapping is haram, but I keep on repeating, if you come to a lecture and you like what you hear, think about it, don't clap. It's exactly the same as you are reading a book. If you read a book, you like the ideas, you don't clap. You just think about what you are reading. And I'm saying if you clap while reading, you need a psychologist. So try to concentrate to get what you can from the lecture, inshallah, and then we can talk about ideas and not about emotional reactions to what is said. Emotion, and especially when we speak about Islam and when we speak about spirituality, should be under control. No immediate topic that was chosen today here, thinking about Islamic education in our time. First, because we are within a university, we are talking about education, we are both talking about transmitting knowledge, but also because we are facing contemporary challenges wherever we are. And as Dr. Ahmad was saying, it's not only in India, it's not only in Kerala, it's worldwide. In Muslim majority countries, in the Middle East, at the center, as well as the periphery, Muslims are facing contemporary challenges when it comes to education. And the first thing that we have to do, and this is the first point of my introduction, is to say, what is education? What is the very meaning of Islamic education, التربية الإسلامية? What are we talking about? What we talk about educating somebody. And this is the starting point of everything. Because even in our understanding as Muslims, we keep on repeating that the first revelations that came to the Prophet ﷺ was بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read. And read meant from the very beginning. If you want to be connected to Allah, if you want to be connected to God, you have to be connected to knowledge, to reading, to understanding. Iqra, read, it's not only to read. Read, when you say read a book, means get the knowledge, understand the meaning, and do something out of it. Read means get the knowledge, get the understanding, do something out of it. This is why the Prophet ﷺ was always asking, Allahumma nas'aluka ilman nafi'ah. We are asking you useful knowledge. Useful knowledge is knowledge that I get, understanding that transform me, and understanding that can help me to transform the world. This is the meaning of education. Education has to do with how to be with Allah. So the relationship, the very meaning of La ilaha illallah, Tawheed. The second is how to respect what He created, because Allah is saying in the Quran, سَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. He gave you, He put this at your disposal, knowing that this is not yours. لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. This is for Him. He is the owner of the creation. He is the owner of the heavens and earth. He is the owner, but you have to take care, to look after the creation. So, to be with God is the first step of being educated as a Muslim. To respect the creation is the second dimension. And the third one, it's الَّذِينَ إِن مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Those when they are settling somewhere, أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتَوُا الزَّكَاةَ. They have to pray, they have to give the zakah. وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. They promote what is right and they resist what is bad. This is the very understanding of being educated. Be with God, respect the creation, do what you have to do by promoting the good and resisting the bad. This is what it means. And it's simple to see because the Islamic principles are all simple, but the world is complex. The world is difficult. How are you going to do this in a world which is changing in such a quick way, in such a tremendous reality, because the complexity and the complexification of the world, the complexity of our world today is something that we have to take into account. So, it's a complexified world. And why is it complex? Because our knowledge of the world today, it's much deeper and wider than what we had before. So as Muslims, if we want to be with God, we cannot underestimate, we can't deny the fact that to be Muslims today means that we need to know how the world is and what is our knowledge of the world. Many of our brothers and sisters, they think that it's very easy to be a Muslim. Take the old principles, take the old models and just implement them today. That's wrong. That's not to be faithful to Islam. Islam is be faithful to the principles that came and the eternal principles that came from the very beginning. But you need to find your model today in this world. So keep the principles, change the models. That's what we have to do. This is what Islam is all about. But to think that you can just duplicate the old models today, it's not to be faithful, it's to be silly. Because you can't duplicate the model of, for example, the Medinian state at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Even here in Kerala, you can't do this. Because the situation is completely different. Culturally speaking, economically speaking, politically speaking, humanly speaking, these are not the same realities. So we need to change your understanding of the world in order to be faithful to the principles. This is what it means to deal with Islamic education in the contemporary world. To get the deep understanding of the world while the strong understanding of the principles. Many of our brothers and sisters who we call the literalists, and we have to be very cautious because we have Salafi and Salafi. We have a Salafi al-Harfiya, which is literalists. They think that by repeating you are faithful, and they don't take into account time and space, and this is a problem. And you have a Salafi, which is coming back to the principles of the past and trying to find the right way of implementing them now. So there is an understanding of the world. This is another way of dealing with being Salafi. So we have also to be very cautious with the people who are colonizing the notion of Salafiyya by saying we are the only Salafi because we repeat. No. We are also faithful to the tradition by understanding the principles and trying to move on and try to find our way. So, at the end of the day, what are you trying to get? At the end of the day, a Muslim today, what is she or is he trying to get as a Muslim? What is the ultimate goal of your life? Feel Islam, very often when we translate Islam in English, we say submission. Which, by the way, anyone who understands Arabic knows that Islam is not the same meaning as submission in English. And there is one verse in the Quran helping us to get a deeper understanding of what we are trying to get as Muslims. And this is the very purpose, the very goal of Islamic education. ادخلوا في السلم كافة. Enter in God's peace with all your mind, your heart, your personality, and your life. In fact, the ultimate goal of Islamic education is to be at peace with God, at peace with yourself, and at peace with the world. In fact, a Muslim, wherever she or he is an agent of peace. What I want is salamat al-nafs. I want peace in my heart. But to get peace in my heart and to be educated to get peace in my heart, I have to be at peace with Allah. And if I want to be, you have it in the Quran, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةِ. Meaning what? This dimension is to be at peace with Him. When you are at peace with Him, you can get this peace, this inner peace with yourself. And if you are at peace with yourself, you can spread peace around you. Ifshu salam, spread peace around you. And be at peace with the world. Look at what is happening now. Because the people are so greedy. They want so much money and power that they are destroying nature. And nature is responding. You destroy nature, you will have global warming. You will have catastrophes. You will have flooding. You will have death. If you don't respect nature, Allah is telling you, you are disrespecting yourself. You are not at peace with nature. We are not promoting environmental issues for the sake of environmental issues. We are promoting environmental issues as something which is part with us being at peace with nature. You know why? Because Allah is telling us, سَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. He gave you all this, but know that you are خُلَفَاء فِي الْأَرْضِ. That is not your property. You are only vicegerent. You have to do what is good and respect nature. So, in fact, Islamic education is all about peace. Are you helping me with the education that you are giving me today to be at peace with God? Are you giving me the means to be at peace with myself? Are you giving me the means to be at peace with my fellow citizens in India, with Christians and Hindus and people of other faiths? Do I have the means to understand my religion by being an agent of peace? Am I here to know that فَضَّلَكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ, Allah gave you a responsibility by choosing you, by telling you لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ, in order for you to bear witness to the truth before people? Are you agents of peace in India, or are you agents of disturbances and disrespect towards the others? Education is about this. What we mean by being educated today is you, Muslim, man and woman, wherever you are, at peace with God, at peace with your heart, at peace with your neighbor, at peace with your society, and at peace with creation. Allah is giving us a religion. By the way, I keep on repeating this. Islam is not a religion of peace. Islam is a religion calling for peace, which is not the same. If you are in front of me calling for destruction, I have to stand up against you. So my religion is saying, if you see injustice, stand up. If you see corruption, stand up. So it's not I'm at peace with everybody. No, I'm at peace with the peaceful. But I'm ready to stand up against anyone who is repressing distracting everything and disturbing our peace in the society. So we have to be clear on this. To call for justice means if you call for justice, you have to stand up against the unjust, the oppressors. So it's not a pacifist religion by saying peace and love all the time. Yes, peace and love with the peaceful and the loving people. But we are going to stand up against the corrupter, against the oppressors, against the distractors. So this is what we need to get from our deep understanding. So if you understand that Islamic education is about this, how are you going to do this today? Because the world is changing. There is one first dimension which is important here, is that the world is changing by the means that we have today. You know that everything which has to do with our spiritual education is وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. The fact that you have to rely on God and He's going to be sufficient for yourself. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means that what you should be with Allah is to be an independent human being. An independent human being is, I talk to Allah, and you know, you have it in the Quran. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِ عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. If my servant is asking you about me, I'm close. I respond to the call of the one who is calling me. So Allah is close. This relationship to Allah, this relationship to God is something that we have to preserve in our society today. What are the challenges of today? We are in a modern global culture. And the modern culture is nurturing two things that are essential. And be careful. You are not going to give to somebody a spiritual education the same in the desert or in Kerala or in Washington. It's not exactly the same. Why? Because the challenges around are deep and bigger and stronger. Two things are essential when it comes to spiritual education. And when Allah is telling us in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اسْتَجِيبُوا لِلَّهِ وَلِلرَّسُولِ, meaning, oh who you believe, when respond to the call of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. You have to respond to the call to get what? Two things. Stop alienation and stop addiction. No alienation, no addiction. Look at the world today. Look at what you are using today. Means of addiction and means of alienation. What is the means of alienation? Is the world culture. The world culture today is alienating you by telling you you are somebody when you have money, when you are rich, when you look good. This is alienation. Addiction is when you need something that is done for you to like it. Look at, for example, what we have. Facebook, internet. This is a world culture of addiction. You need it. You go for TV, you go for movies, you go for music. Addiction. Addiction is the opposite of being free with Allah. Is to be addicted to things. If you know this, there is no spiritual Islamic education today if you don't deal with this. How am I going to avoid alienation and avoid addiction? By saying, for example, avoiding and having a critical take on your mobile phone, on your internet. All these are virtual worlds of addiction. And you know what is the other name, the Islamic name of addiction? Ash-shirk al-khafi. Ash-shirk. That you are not doing things for Allah, you are distorting your relationship by addiction to things that are, some are addicted to alcohol. Some are addicted to drugs. Some are addicted to music. Some are addicted to internet. Others are addicted to fashion. Addiction is the world culture of the day. Muslims, and this is our education, is be careful. No spiritual life if you keep on being addicted to all these things. And being alienated is not to think about yourself through what Allah is expecting from you, but what the society is expecting from you. Meaning good status, money, rich, good looking, and being at ease with the society. This is not the way it should be. This is not the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us to be with Allah. If you want to be with Allah, do what He's expecting you to be. So this is, the spiritual life has to do with freedom. The true freedom. The true freedom is not to do what the society is asking you to do, is what Allah is expecting you to be. True freedom is not for you to do what the society is expecting you to do, but what Allah is expecting you to be. Who are you? Who are you? So the point here is any education which is not helping you to get this sense of who I am with Allah, who I want to be, how am I going to be free from all this alienation, all these addictions. Yes, we know that we cannot drink alcohol. Why can't you drink alcohol? You can't drink alcohol because you are losing your mind. But today, in our world, there are ways of making you use your mind and your time. You are losing your mind and you are losing your time. By doing what? Movies, internet, Facebook, Twitter, all these things are ways of taking your mind. If you are not equipped to know, yes, I can use them, but as means. I'm using them. They should not use me. I'm using them. They should not use me. The power of the means today is to use you while you think that you're using them. So the point here is the spiritual freedom, which is part of, are you designing for yourself? And be careful, because many of you here are in universities. Even in my universities, one of the best universities in the world, you have students exactly the same. Addicted, alienated, exactly the same. If you are not equipped, if you are not going through what? Spiritual education. Rabbaniya, kunu rabbaniyin, means be connected to Allah, be connected to Him by knowing who do you want to be. What is the future? And this is something that no one is going to respond to this except after Allah yourself. Yourself. You know better than anybody what are the types of addiction you have with your time, with what you listen to, what you do, what you don't do. There is a way in Islam which is important. You know, the fact that we have to pray 5 times a day. Inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minin kitaban mawquta. The fact that we have to be disciplined with time. You know that today in the world culture, you are made wasting your time. In Islam, you can't do this. So the fact that you go towards this liberation in our education today, it's how do you deal with your time, to be disciplined with your time, to have time to do things, to know what you are going to do. This is what we are expecting from students. This is what you are expecting from critical thinkers today. So get me right. Education today is not only the way you use your brain. Education today is the way you use your heart. How much are you respecting your heart? How much are you respecting your body? How much are you respecting yourself? We need an education, and especially here in India. You know, we are told that India is a fast-growing economy. So you may clap, you may be happy, be careful. A growing economy without independence and spiritual independence is more addiction. It's more greediness. It's more willing more money and more richness or wealth. It's not about independence and spiritual independence. Be careful with this. More development doesn't mean more spiritual independence. Not at all. You can be economically independent and spiritually alienated, which is what is happening in the great majority of the countries that have money, and they have fashion, and they have world culture. They have lots of music, but not hearts at peace. What we want is peace and spiritual peace. How are we going to get this? It means that in our education today, if you want to get this, there is something which is essential. You can't ask our young brothers and sisters, you can't in our university say, you know what, you want to be a good Muslim, repeat the Quran, know the Hadith. Not at all. That's not going to work today. You need to know the Quran and understand the Quran. You need to know the Hadith and understand. No intellectual and spiritual independence without understanding. We need education of understanding, not repetition. Not only knowing. Many of you can know the Quran by heart. You don't even know what you are saying. How is it going to protect you from the world if you repeat with your mouth and you don't get it with your heart? Tell me, which type of protection is this? No protection. Because you say with your mouth what is not in your heart. No understanding, no protection. The best protection is to understand what you say. Al-ilm, al-fahm, wal-fiqh. Al-fiqh, and the general meaning of fiqh is the deep understanding. Al-fahm al-amir, this is what we want. And then it became Islamic law and jurisprudence. But the deep understanding here, it's essential. So this is the spiritual dimension what we need. Now, it's not enough. When we are talking about, so this is the spiritual freedom. Now we also need intellectual freedom. Every one of you, you are Muslim. Or you are not. You may be from other faiths. You may be a Christian or you may be a Hindu. If you want to live in this world today, we need an education helping you to be intellectually independent. So we said spiritually independent, to know who you are and how you are going to deal with yourself, but intellectually independent. You know, there is a French philosopher who is saying something which is essential, which is part of the Islamic education. My teacher was a good teacher because he didn't teach me to think like him, but to think without him. The right teaching is to be free intellectually speaking. And you know that in the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ, the way he was teaching the companions, you have situations where Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and the companions were asking questions. They were trying to understand. And the Prophet ﷺ never told them, don't ask. Don't ask. Even in the Quran, as one of our convert brothers was saying, even the angels ask in the Quran. The angels are asking Allah. أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا. They are asking Allah. So how is it that today in our education we don't teach our students to ask questions? So you have to ask. Any question you have in mind is a legitimate question to ask. You have to ask questions. You have to have this critical mind. But to get this, what we need, it's in our mosques, in our organizations, in our universities. There should be a space where I feel free to ask. And there is one thing which is essential. Never tell me, never expect or let me think that through my questions you can assess the level of my faith. Because some are saying, oh, if you ask this question, it means that your level of faith is low. Not at all. I just want to understand. I want to understand what it means. And I start with the basics. By the way, do you know why you pray? Do you really know why you fast? Ask this simple question. Do you know why you fast? Do you know that fasting is the most important resistance to the consumer culture? Fasting 1 month a year, it's the most important resistance to the consumer culture that you have around the world. We are saying, no, we are not going to eat and drink as the people eat and drink. Why? Because by stopping, we get the meaning. We get the meaning. We stop eating because we want to get the meaning. When the Muslims are alienated, they transform all this into the consumer culture. Do you know that the big markets, by the way, even here in India, during Ramadan, the big markets, they are selling halal food, not because they like you, but they like your money. So everywhere in Europe today, during Ramadan, we have shops and markets, halal meat, halal food, everything. And the Muslims are happy and say, oh, they like us so much. No, it means that Ramadan is entering into the consumer culture. To the point that during the night, the Muslims eat more than during the rest of the year. Which type of Ramadan is this? If we don't get the meaning, the basic meaning, why do you fast? Do you understand the very meaning of fasting in the global culture? Is to say to the United States of America, to the European countries, to the dominant culture, we are resisting by the very will of God. We don't eat, we don't drink, and we think. That's Islam. That's the very meaning. We need to come to the basic understanding. If we pray, it means that we are not wasting our time. Instead of understanding that life is money, life is not money. Life is more than that. The people are saying life is money and time is money. No, we are saying time is life and life is with Allah. Why? Because this is exactly يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. What gives you life? Life, it's the deep understanding. So in our society today, what we need is an education starting with the basic. Even in universities, many of you are getting the highest degrees. You can have a PhD, a master's, but when you ask, why do you pray? Why do you fast? What is the meaning that you have to give zakat? That is the right of the poor in this society. What does it mean? It means that at the heart of the economic capitalism, of the neoliberal system, we as Muslims, we know that the poor have rights over our money. And we are not going to give up. We are not going to accept that the rich are richer and the poor are poorer in our society. This is not Islam. So you get here a sense that we need to reassess our education within this global culture by understanding the deep meaning of our principles as Muslims. But it's not only this. It's not only this. These are the basics. Every one of you here, all the students, men and women, you have to get this. When now we have fashion, you know that in the United States of America, in Europe now, we have even fashion with the hijab, the khimar, that they are selling it as a fashionable way of dressing. So look beautiful, put lots of money in the way you dress and making something fashionable. Because they make money even with your khimar. Even with what is an act of modesty, they want to make money with it. If we are not aware of that, we are going to be lost. That's not our religion. Our religion has to do with spiritual freedom and intellectual freedom. And intellectual freedom is to understand what it means to be a Muslim today as a man and a woman. Intellectual freedom, beyond the basic teachings of Islam, it's also to get the knowledge. You know that I have been talking for years about ulama al-nusus, the scholars who know the texts, wa ulama al-waqi', the scholars who know the environment, they know the other sciences, human sciences. They can know philosophy, they can know sociology, they can know history, they can know medicine, all the sciences, experimental and human sciences. What we need today is scholars that have both knowledge. I'm very happy, by the way, I was told by the dean that today to get the degree, you need to have both. A degree in Islamic studies and a degree in humanities. That's good. We have exactly the same. I'm just coming back from Russia. And in Russia, the Mufti of Russia said, now, if you want to be an imam, you need to get the knowledge of Sharia, the Sharia knowledge, but you also need to have a degree in human sciences. We need you to get two knowledges, not only the text without understanding the world. Is it new, by the way? Is it new? Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya, I'lam al-Muqan an Rabb al-Alamin, when he's just listening all the conditions to be a mufti, he was talking about halat al-nas, that you need to know the situation of the people. You need to know how the people are living. And it started like this. Malik, when he's talking about the sunnah, he's talking about the way of life of the people around him. How is it that 14th century later, we come and we have an understanding that al-ulum al-shar'iyya is only al-Quran wa sunnah and that's it. And we don't understand that we need to have a link with all the other sciences. All the other sciences. So every one of you, if you are teaching Islamic sciences, you need to get other knowledges. You need to know how the world is working, how it goes on. This is essential. What do you know about society? What do you know about your society? For example, you want to change India to make it a better place? Okay, come on. Let's go and let's try to change Kerala in making it a better place. You come from one university, tell me, what do you know about the people? What do you know about history? What do you know about expectation? What do you know about the people around you? You want to change them, you ignore them. That's not going to work. The Prophet ﷺ changed Mecca and Medina by respecting the people in the name of Allah. Not in the name of Allah, I ignore you. No, in the name of Allah, I serve you. And to serve you means I know you. Where do you get this from? Surah Al-Hujurat. When we keep on repeating to the world, يا أيها الناس إن خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا. We say this to the world that Allah created us out of a female and a male and He made us nations and tribes in order for you to know one another. But you know what we do? We tell them this. Know us. But we don't know them. We don't take time to know them. So we dismiss. We disrespect while Allah is telling us that diversity is His will. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. If He had will, He would have been one community. So He made you a diversity for you to get knowledge. So get this knowledge. Get this knowledge. So what we need today is to get this and to understand one thing. You are not going to protect Islam only by saying to Muslims today, you know what? This is haram, this is haram, this is haram. The haram mindset is not working. You can't. You know, we come from a tradition telling us al-aslu fil ashya al-ibaha, that the first principle in everything is permission. And we come today and we want to protect ourselves from the West or from the dominant culture by saying haram, 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 haram. Haram is not a protection. Haram is just a red light, not to go there. But if you don't understand, if you don't have a deep understanding of how do you deal with this, we need to reconcile three things. Three things. The first, you know, إِنَّمَا الْحَلَالُ بَيِّنٌ وَإِنَّمَا الْحَرَامُ بَيِّنٌ. We need to be clear with this. There are things that are haram and they are haram. So, riba, alcohol, pork, all what is haram, haram. Lying, cheating, haram. We know this. And there are things that are halal and they are halal and we know this. Please, do not get me wrong. In the name of a deeper understanding of Islam, there is no way that we can make al-haram halal wal-halal haram. لا نحلل حرام ولا نحرم حلال. We are not going that way. الضوابط واضحة. So this should be clear, that we have rules and regulation that we have to respect. But while we are saying this, we need to get two understandings that we are adding to this. What is the goal of what we are doing? So if something is haram and something is min al-muharramat or min al-wajibat, something that is an obligation or an interdiction, if we have this, it's to achieve something. And we need to have what is known as maqasid al-sharia. So what are the higher objectives of Islam? We need to get this understanding. Why are you doing what you are doing? What are the final objectives or the higher objectives? And we need to understand the meaning. You know, when some of our Sufi brothers and sisters come to us, and sometimes they say to the Muslims, you know what? You are very quick to speak about halal haram, but this has no impact on your behavior. And they are right. In fact, everything that is part of our education should change our behavior to get this inner peace, isn't it? Salamat al-nafs, tazkiyat al-nafs. This is what we need to get. And they are right by saying it's very important to know what is haram, but it's very important to change your behavior. In fact, Islam is about changing your behavior. And when I'm asked to summarize the teaching of Islam, it's very easy for me, is change yourself, change the world for the better. Change yourself, tazkiyat al-nafs, and change the world is reforming, al-islah, kunu min al-muslihin. So you have to be somebody who is changing the world for the better. This is what Islam is all about. Having said that, we need to get in our understanding as Muslims today, in our education, the meaning of some things, the ethical meaning. Why is it that we are doing this? The notion of dignity, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, the notion of justice, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ, the notion of freedom, الحرية, all this is part, the notion of knowledge. These are knowledges and these are notions that we need to get. So we need to reconcile al-akhlaq, ethical behavior, with al-ahkam, the rules, with al-maqasid, the goals. The goals are the objectives, al-ahkam are the limits, and al-akhlaq is the way you walk on the way towards the objectives. So the way you walk is al-akhlaq, al-suluk, the limits are al-ahkam, and the destination, the goals are al-maqasid. This is what we need. But we don't want, and this is why sometimes I'm scared of some people who are talking too much about the maqasid. They want the objectives at the price of the limits. They want less rules and more objectives. No way. Everything is about tawazun. It's balancing. Yes, the objectives, but with the limits. Yes, the limits, but knowing the objectives. And together with the right behavior, which is akhlaq, which is the way we have to get the right on. This is an education. An education which is a dignified attitude, understanding the limits, knowing where we are heading, what we are trying to do. But to get this, today, you need to have the knowledge of the texts, but also the knowledge of the society you live in. Because you need to know what are your challenges today. You need to know what are the difficulties and the hindrances that you are facing today. And one thing which is important is intellectual independence, asking questions, trying to understand, to go deeper in the discussion. For example, when it comes today to medicine, the way medicine today it's promoted is a problem because it's chemical medicine. It's not about, we talk about healing the body. We don't talk about healing the heart. And we know today that the state of your heart and the state of your psyche, your psychology, has an impact on your body. That sometimes it could be that the best way to heal your body is meditation. That it's part of a healing process. We know this as Muslims. So why do we go straight towards chemical industry thinking this is the only way we heal, current diseases? That's not the way. It's exactly the same with economy. We have some today, they want to deal with Islamic economy. But Islamic economy, it's not about Islamizing means. It's to think about another project, another perception of what, an understanding of what economy it's all about. It's not to Islamize capitalism. It's not to Islamize neoliberalism by making some halal banks in an ocean of haram economy. It's not this. So we need to get a deep understanding. Where are the economists? Where are the people who are equipped? Because you can't be intellectually independent if you don't have competence. This is why the Prophet was saying, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ إِذَا عَمَلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَمَلًا أَن يُتْقِنَ. It's to have the control, the mastering what you do. Do you have the good understanding of economy? Do you have the good understanding of culture? Do you have a good understanding of your society? Many people are telling me, you know what? Your grandfather changed Egypt. I say, you know what? He changed Egypt not only because he knew the Quran by heart. He knew the Quran by heart. But he visited 30,000 villages and towns and cities. He was close to the people. You want to change the people? Come close to the people. Don't lecture them from where I am. Come at the grassroots. So universities and our educational institutions should be close to the people, respecting the people, giving them this spiritual freedom, this intellectual freedom by getting knowledge, which is knowledge of the text and knowledge of the world. This is the way we change. You know that 9 out of 10 of the problems that we have in fiqh have nothing to do with the way you extract the rules from the text. That's not the problem. It's the way you take the rules and you implement them in the context. في سياق, في واقع معين. So this is when you translate this into reality, this is the problem. The problem is not to read and to extract, is to extract and to implement. This is fiqh. This is the deep problem that we may have. And this is what we need to understand here when it comes to this. So in our education now, from spiritual independence, intellectual independence, merging knowledges together, it's all about balancing things. It's a jihad of balancing. Jihad al-tawazun. وَأَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ. This is what we have to do and what we need to get. We need to have balanced students, balanced Muslim, getting this way towards peace. And the last point, which is important in our understanding. You know, we have a mission. As Muslims, we have a mission. Let me put it in a simple way. Do you think that your mission is to convert people? Are you in Kerala a minority Muslim presence to convert all the people to Islam? Is this the goal? Did Allah put you on earth to convert the people? Never. Never. Even da'wah has nothing to do to converting people. Ud'u ila sabili rabbik bil hikmah. It means call to the way of God with your wisdom. Wal maw'izati al-hasana, the best talk. Wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan, and tell them the best things you can. You are not here to convert people. ولو شاء ربك لآمن من في الأرض كلهم جميعا أفأنت تكره الناس حتى يكونوا مؤمنين. If Allah had willed, everybody on earth would have believed. Is it then for you to impose on two people? You are not here for that. You are here to do two things. لتكونوا شهداء على الناس is for them to see in you what Islam is doing with you. لتكونوا شهداء على الناس. So when the people look at you, say, wow, this religion is transforming her or transforming him in the best way. A contemporary Islamic education is to help you to be a witness. لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. That's what you have to do. Who you have to be. So let me tell you, when the people around you, the Hindus or the Christians or people with no faith, did you get what I said? I never said non-Muslims. Because it's wrong. You know that the Prophet ﷺ was always talking to the people the way they like? Would you like to be called a non-Hindu? Would you like to be called a non-Christian? No, you want to be called a Muslim because you are a Muslim. So why is it that when you don't like you to be called a non-Christian, you call them non-Muslims? You call them by the name they have. People of other faiths, Christians, Hindus, call them with the respect they deserve. Because Allah decided that they are Hindu and they are Christian and people of other faiths. It's not for you to be the center and to define the world from where you are. That's not respectful. That's for you to decide that I am the center and I define from where I am. Allah didn't tell you this. This is one. Second, you are not here to convert the people. You are here to bear witness to the message of Islam before humanity. And you know what it means, this? Why are you against the notion of chosen people? Why, for example, today we say that we are not accepting the notion of chosen people understood by some Jewish extremists? Why? Because they think that chosen people, they have privileges that others don't have. I say never. فَضَّلَكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ doesn't mean that you have privileges. No. فَضَّلَكُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ means that you have responsibilities more than others. And what were the responsibilities of Bani Israel? And then the Christians. And then the Muslims. You know what are our responsibilities? Then this is our mission. I'm not here to convert you. I am here to be a witness by serving you. I'm here to serve humanity. I'm here to serve humanity for the better. I don't want you to become a Muslim under my imposition. I want you to think about your life, your principles, your values out of my example. This is why the Prophet, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, is the best example. So let us be example. So Islamic education today, in our world, we want to see Muslim, spiritually free, intellectually free, ready to ask questions, knowing who they are and serving humanity. They are in Kerala to make Kerala a better place for all, Muslims and people of other faiths. We are serving you in the name of Allah. It's not you against us. It's us for all of us in the name of the one. In the name of Allah, la ilaha illahu. This is the way we understand what it means to be Muslim. So this is the education that we need. So you get the sense of sacrifice, to give to people. Give, give, give. What do you give? You give from your peace. If you have peace inside, spread peace. You know, فَاقِدُ الشَّيْء لَا يُعْطِي. If you don't have peace inside, you're not going to give peace around you. So spread peace with your neighbor. Do you understand that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لجاره ما يحبه لنفسه. So in one hadith it's لأخي, so his brother, and jarihi, his neighbor. He didn't say his Muslim neighbor. He said his neighbor. What you want for yourself, give it to your neighbor. So if you want to change a society, be witnesses and serve all the people. Your Muslim brothers and sisters and your brothers and sisters in humanity. Because they are your brothers and sisters in humanity. And get me right, this is not coming from a modern interpretation of Islam. It's as old as Imam al-Nawawi, al-Ukhuwa al-Insaniyya, meaning the human brotherhood and sisterhood. This is what we are as Muslims. And there are two things that are needed for this. You can't get this if in our contemporary education we are not confident. So what the universities and the schools All our schools and institutions. When I go to the mosque, when I go to an Islamic school, and when I go to a university, what I get out of it should be confidence. I should be confident. In one of my books, I was speaking about the 7 C's. The first one is confidence. Be confident. Tawakkal ala Allah. Take it easy. If you are with him, لا تخافا, as it is said to Musa wa Harun alayhim as-salam. So the point is that don't be scared. If you are with him, don't be scared. Whatever is the situation in the country, whoever is leading India, don't be scared. Tawakkal ala Allah. Be confident with your heart. Be confident with your values. Be confident with who you are and what you have to do. Be confident. Confidence, it's important. But there is another one, which is the last C of the 7th, is to be courageous. Courageous. You know, we are talking a lot today about extremism, about people killing innocent in the name of Islam, and we keep on repeating, this has nothing to do with our religion. These people are betraying Islam and are betraying the values of Islam. While what they are doing is not courageous resistance, what we have to do is to be courageous with our religion. You know what is missing today in our world? We have lots of victims today. Even the leading party in this country is presenting itself as victims of people who don't like Hinduism. The extremists are always presenting themselves as victims of the world. We Muslims, from where we are, we should stop with the victim mentality. We are not victims. But there is something that is needed in our education today, and I keep on repeating this. It's courage. Speak your mind, speak the truth. Speak your mind. And speak your mind means, do you know what you really think? Have you made your mind? Do you have an opinion about something? In order to be able to express it and to say it, speak your mind. Think. So this is why I don't like you to clap. Because you don't think when you clap. When you think, you don't clap. You just meditate, you ponder over what is said. And then you say, this is my stand. And now there is time where, yes, you can't keep quiet when there are injustices. Education today, we need courageous Muslim sisters and brothers. How courageous are you? How much courage do you have to speak the truth? When you see injustice, when you see oppression, when you see things that are unacceptable, are you keeping quiet? Do you tell me that you follow the Prophet ﷺ and you see injustice, you keep quiet? Give me one example of the Prophet ﷺ keeping quiet facing injustice. It never happened. One woman was treated with disrespect because of her khimar. The Prophet ﷺ sent an army to defend her. We don't play with values. We should be courageous. Are you? Are you? Are our institutions as Muslim institutions, Islamic universities, Islamic schools, Islamic Jamia, whatever, are they teaching us be confident and courageous? Courageous doesn't mean to attack. Courageous doesn't mean to be aggressive. Courageous means speak your mind and have an opinion. Have an opinion. Be somebody. We need Muslims today to have an opinion, to be somebody, to be independent, spiritually, intellectually, socially, and to get more knowledge. Wallahu a'lam wa a'la wa ahkam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed for your enlightening and educative words. Now, brothers and sisters, we are moving on to a Q&A session. You can ask your questions. Please make it a point to keep your questions brief and to the point. And please note, no question outside the ambit of the topic will be entertained. Here we go.
أيها الحفل الكريم، سيداتي وساداتي، يمكنكم أن تسألوا استفسارات بإحدى اللغتين الإنجليزية والعربية، بشرط أن تكون الأسئلة والإشكالات متعلقة بالموضوع.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdul Hadi. أتكلم بالعربية أو should I talk in English? على كيفك. تمام. Can you just explain the three levels of education? العلم والفهم والفقه. You just told about these three things. العلم والفهم والفقه. I just want to know more about those three levels. What is the significance between those three levels, and where should we start, and where should we, and how we will be ourselves when we end in fiqh. Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Ahmed Anfal, a third year student in Jamia. I have a question. So I listened to one of your talks. I think it's held somewhere in Europe. In that talk, you said that education has to be comprehensive and all-embracing. It must be connecting our heart, mind, and body. Even now, you just mentioned it. So my question is, could you put in perspective? Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Munsaf. I'm a journalist by profession. So my question is about my question is about the intellectual independence you were talking about. So it is about how related is political correctness and intellectual independence. Just to give you an example, quick example. So as in India, we as Muslims are often ridiculed about being orthodoxy, let's say for issues such as gender complexities, issues such as the transgender issue, or maybe the LGBTQ issue. So I'm just asking, I'm wondering, how do we as Muslims are supposed to formulate our opinions on the go? So it's not that everything is given for us granted. So to summarize that, I'm asking the center point of my question is, how important is to be politically correct as Muslims?
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Myself, Wais Harun, third year student of Al Jamia. So, we've had a rich, enduring legacy of Islamic art, science, culture, civilization, and philosophy. And it is an established fact that today's phenomenal explosion of knowledge are largely sourced from this Islamic roots. So, how come we have this huge, monumental vacuum between the golden Islamic age and the contemporary world? Where, when, and how did this Islamic world slumber on the track?
Assalamu alaikum. Myself Hiba Aslam, and I'm a student in fourth year Al Jamia Al Islamiya. And I would like to ask you about, we know the most of the fields of education is Islamized today. It's been a very much discussed thing, that Islamization of branches of knowledge, and I would like to ask that the need of Islamization of knowledge.
Assalamu alaikum. Myself, Bahija Alawi, student of Usuluddin Unit, Al-Jamia Al-Islamiyya. And sir, my question is, the women folk all over the world are getting empowered and emboldened on a scale that I had never seen before. But we have a very few little Islamic women scholars. And sir, what are the factors that pull us back?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Myself, Afra Shihab, first year student at the faculty of Usuluddin Al-Jamia Al-Islamiya. Sir, my question is, do you visualize the re-emergence and reawakening of yet another Islamic epistemological upsurge? I mean, is it possible yet another Andalus, Bukhara, submerged, Andalus, Bukhara and Baghdad, the erstwhile epicenters of Islamic knowledge and civilization?
I, Fida Abdul Salam of third year of Al-Jamia Islamiyya. As I have listened to you, I came across you saying different fatwas for Muslims and other communities. So what do you think about the chances of combining both Islamic laws and public law?
Any other questions? Please come down.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a student of science. Regarding the education, regarding Islamic education and science, there are two ways. The scholars who study science, they make the scientific facts concordant with Islamic principles or Quranic verses. And from earlier period, we can see that they started from Quran and made into science, like Ibn al-Haytham. So how do you appreciate both the ways of education by combining science and Islamic education?
Assalamu alaikum. How important is learning Arabic language in Islamic education?
Sir, can you introduce yourself? Yeah.
How important is learning Arabic language?
Introduce yourself.
My name is Mohid Mubashir. I'm not from Jamia. I just came for a short course in Arabic language. So I want to know how important is learning Arabic language, because our masses doesn't know Arabic language. So I want to know how important is Arabic language in Islamic education.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Myself is Saud Firoz Ahmed, a student of PG in Al-Jamia. So you said that there is no spiritual life without getting rid of addictions. And you also talked about intellectual freedom. What I want to know is that is taqlid al-jamid, which is prevalent among the Muslim scholars, is not also a kind of emotional addiction?
السلام عليكم. اسمي وسيم أشرف، طالب من كلية الشريعة بالجامعة الإسلامية. سؤالي أنا: نحن المسلمون أقليات في الهند، لكن جميع الكتب المكتوبة في فقه الأقليات مكتوبة في منظور الدول الأوروبية، وبينما نعرف الأحوال والأوضاع في الهند مختلفة جدا من الدول الأوروبية. سؤالي أنا: كيف نطبق أحكام الأقليات في الهند؟
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. شيخ، أنا أريد أن أعرف ما هو رأيكم بالنسبة إلى المناهج التعليمية التي تطبق في الجامعات الإسلامية العالمية. فنحن نرى أن بعض العلماء أنهم حاولوا على الاندماج بمعنى بين المناهج الإسلامية وكذلك العلوم الاجتماعية. فمثلا هذا هو محمد عبدو في جامعة أزهر، وكذلك ابن عاشور أنه هو حاول هذه المحاولة في جامعة زيتونة. فإذا وهذه المحاولة هل نجحت تماما أو العالم الإسلامي يحتاج إلى مثل هذه المحاولات؟ ما رأيكم في هذه القضية؟
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Haidaruddin. I'm a student third year of Jamia Islamic Santhapuram. My question is that during a speech you said Islam is not religion of peace, but it called to the peace. I agree with you. Islam called to the peace, but how Islam is not religion of peace? I heard like this you said during a speech. During a speech, you said Islam is not religion of speech, but it called to the speech. I am agree with you that Islam called to the speech, but how Islam is not religion of speech? That is my question.
إذا كان هناك أي مداخلات أو إضافات أو أسئلة فيمكنكم الآن، فإن الوقت يضيق بنا. بما نظن الأسئلة والإشكالات قد انتهت، والآن ندعو الأستاذ للإجابة عن هذه الأسئلة، وإذا كانت هناك أي أسئلة إن شاء الله نعطيكم في الورقة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So the first question was about the understanding of ilm, fahm and fiqh, and how do we get this understanding. In fact, there are three different dimensions and we need the three of them. Ilm is knowledge, is what we acquire and what we get. And that's something which is important. We need to add knowledge to knowledge. But to get knowledge should be understood as getting the substance plus the understanding of what we get. So which is al-fahm. Meaning it's not only important to know a rule, It's also to understand what is the meaning of the rule and what are the objectives. So you add to the pure knowledge the understanding. So al-fahm, it's important. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu repeated 3 times al-fahm, 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 meaning that we need to get not only the knowledge, it's not only the knowledge of the Quran by knowing it by heart, but it's also trying to understand what is the meaning of what we know, so the right knowledge is a knowledge that we understand, and we understand the objective of this knowledge. And then al-fiqh, the generic understanding of fiqh, it's the deep understanding. And it came afterward as al-mustalah afterward was, we understand by fiqh Islamic law and jurisprudence, which is in fact the central science in Islam, is how do we understand the rules. But in fact, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, فَقِهُ فِي الدِّينِ, it's the best and the one for whom Allah wants the best is the one who understands Islam. So the best before Islam are the best within Islam as long as they understand Islam, which is once again the deep understanding of our rules. And the deep understanding, it's sometimes something which goes beyond just understanding the way we deal with the rules, but the deep understanding in the spiritual way. So the 3 dimensions here are important in the way we get the knowledge, understand what we know, and go deep in the understanding of the knowledge. And the understanding of the knowledge, for example, let me give you an example. You know, this is knowledge, that you have to fast during Ramadan. This is knowledge. You understand that you have to fast because it's the way you get the spiritual resistance and the jihad and nafs, tazkiyat and nafs to come close to Allah and close to the poor. And then in your specific time, you understand that Ramadan during 1 month, it's a deep spiritual resistance to the global economy. So this is also a deep understanding within an Islamic cosmology. Allah created the world, there is one God, so you have the knowledge that you have to fast, the understanding what you have to fast, and the deep understanding of why fasting is important, especially during this or under the imposition of the global culture or the consumer culture. For example, this is an example of the 3 things. The second question was about education, is about the relationship between heart, mind and body. This is in fact what I said in a way during this discussion by saying Islam is the education of the heart. And you know that the al-mutasawwifun, the Sufi in the right meaning, be careful with the Sufi tradition. I keep on repeating, I don't know if you follow this. If you want to get the right understanding of the Sufi tradition, coming as far as Hassan al-Basri radiallahu anhu, there are 4 conditions. 4 conditions. The Sufi circle never diminish the worship. So you pray 5 times a day, you fast, you do everything, and they are adding to the worship. So they pray during the night, they fast more, they don't do less, they do more. This is 1. Second, a Sufi tradition does not sacralize the leader. So we do not sacralize the sheikh or the murshid. He's a human being, he's not more than that. No sacralization of human being. So we don't prostrate in front of the sheikh, we don't sacralize to the fact that we end up thinking he's a saint and we worship him. We only worship God, Allah, and a sheikh is helping us to come close to God, not close to him. This is 2. Third one, be careful with the relationship between the Sufi circle and power. Very often some Sufi circles are dealing with the powerful. So they are serving a king, or they are serving a dictator, or they are serving corrupt people. There is no Sufi tradition serving corrupt people or serving power. The fourth condition is no Sufi tradition where money is not clear, because some of the Sufi leaders are telling you you have to experience the zuhd, and they are having lots of money and they are billionaire and taking money from the poor people. So this is not Sufi. This is not a zuhd. So 4 conditions that are important here when it comes to the Sufi tradition. And what the Sufi tradition is telling us is, in fact, in the way you are educating your heart, it's the way you are getting this salamat al-nafs. So this connection between your heart, your behavior, your mind should be independent, and your body that you also have. You know that one of the first questions that you are going to be asked just after your death and in the day of judgment is, what have you done with your health? So you also have to take care and to look after your body in a way which is showing that you acknowledge that it's coming from God. So in Islam, we want a balanced approach between heart, mind and body. And as I was saying, in Tasawwuf, they also speak about ilm al-qulub, which is the knowledge of the heart, ilm al-uqul, which is the knowledge of the minds, and we also have the knowledge, and the medical sciences have to do with the knowledge of our body, and all are connected. That if your heart is not at peace, it could have an impact on your body. If your mind is not at peace, it could have an impact on your body. And if your body is not healthy, it has an impact on your intellect, and it has an impact on your body. This is why, for example, the right to eat and the right to drink are basic rights in Islam, because if you don't get them, قَدْ يُؤَدِّي إِلَى الْكُفْرِ الْفَقْرِ, the fact that you can be poor has so much pressure on you that it could lead you to rejecting everything. So eating and drinking are basic rights. So there is here, once again, a balanced approach that is important. That's a very important question that you have in India and that we also have everywhere in the world. When, for example, today the majority trend is telling you you have to promote homosexuality and you have to promote LGBT, you as Indian Muslims, what is going to be your take? Are you going to forget your principles just to be politically correct? I think that it's not possible. You have to stick to your principles. You have to stick to your principles, but you have to be clear in the way you put them. To stick to your principles is not to get out and to condemn the whole world that doesn't think like you. So, for example, as a Muslim, yes, you think as all the Christians, all the Jews, all the traditional spiritualities that homosexuality is not allowed in Islam. You can say this, but you are not going to condemn the people who say that's your business, but for me, don't ask me to act against my conscience. So I respect who you are, I don't agree with what you do, and that's it. But don't ask me to go against my principles. A free society is not a society imposing onto me to speak against my mind and my principles. Now, I'm not going to condemn you, but don't condemn me because I'm not supporting this. So, politically correct or political correctness at the price of your principles is destroying you if you don't get an understanding from within of what you have to do and in which way you have to deal with it as something which is also essential here. And then it means that what we are expecting from Muslims within the political arena is to be dignified with their principles, open and respectful towards the others without betraying their principles. So there is a way here of being consistent with what I think and respectful towards who you are. That's exactly the point. You are not respecting your principles by insulting the people. No, I respect who you are, but respect what I think. And this is the way, as Muslims, we need to have a wise public discourse, not a double speech, not betraying our principles, clear in what we think, respectful towards what the people around us think. And this is what we are expecting. But don't sell your principles just to be acknowledged or accepted in the political arena. That could be your own destruction here. It's a big question, the question that you are asking. What happened in the Islamic history? Why we were leading for years, and at what point we have been backward? And I would say that this happened a long time ago. On the 13th century, the Muslims started to lose their creativity. There is also something that I have been always repeating. We want Muslims to be more creative in all the fields. As the Muslims were in science, in arts, in architecture, in all the sciences, the Muslims were very creative. When they felt that they were dominated, they started protecting themselves. So when you protect yourself, you are less creative. And it happened very often. We had some periods of time under Suleiman the Magnificent, for example, where he was open to the world with a sense of confidence and openness towards the world. We today are reactive, on the defensive. We are not engaged in science, not courageous in knowledge, not open to the world. And I think that this is where we need now young sisters and brothers open, being able to take the knowledge and to be creative and innovative in different fields. That's what is expected. But today, we think much more about protecting ourselves than contributing. So when you protect, you end up being backward. Because you protect what you think is the center, but you are not proposing, you are not promoting. So this is also something that has to do with our history. About the Islamization of knowledge, I have been from the very beginning very critical towards the notion Islamizing knowledge. But I understand the concept, and this is connected to another question about the epistemological reference. And epistemology, to make it simple, is how and from where you are getting your knowledge. And in Islam, of course, the knowledge is taken from the text, the Quran was Sunnah, and the Sunnah is wider than the Hadith. But not only. Muslims are also taking the knowledge from the creation. We have many sources of knowledge. And as Muslims, we need to come with not only trying to adapt to the dominant culture. This is why one of my books is called Radical Reform. It's not adaptational reform to the world the way it is, but transformational reform of the world the way it should be, which is not the same. I don't want us to follow in the footsteps of the West and do the same, because what we see today is destruction of the world and more poverty. How are we going to transform the world for the better? This is another type of Islah. And I have been studying with scholars, shuyukh, that I respect very much, but I just realized that the way they were talking about al-Islah, wa al-Tajdeed, wa ihya, even ihya al-Din or ulum al-Din, all this was also problematic because it was just to adapt the way the world is today. I don't think that the Muslims should do that. We need to change the world, not to adapt to the world. We need to change the dominant culture, not to adapt to it. And this is why I'm telling you, be careful with Islamic economy making capitalism Islamic. I don't want to Islamize capitalism. I don't want to Islamize neoliberalism. I don't want to Islamize the dominant culture. I think we need al-badil, which is an alternative, something else, which is coming with other principles, other objectives. So it's not to adapt, it's to question, to go beyond. And we need you, we need the young generations of Muslims who can now do the job by getting the knowledge of the text and the knowledge of the world. So this is why I have a problem with the notion, even though the notion that we have to start with the cosmology, the Islamic understanding of everything, and then we start with the rules and the principles, is something that it's coming from Al-Attas and Al-Faruqi. It's all this, the school that we had, which is very interesting, which is also part of the answer that I had about Jamia Islamiya في Malaysia, and what they are trying to do in this. About Islamic law and Islamic public law and combining them. Look, that's a big question. And this is where, among Muslims, we don't agree. And this is a big question because between what we call Islamists, Salafists, secularists, all these ists that we have. Who are you? You say, I am a Muslim. Alhamdulillah. Are you an Islamist? Are you a Salafist? Are you a secularist? And one of the questions and one of the answers has to do with the way you deal with the public sphere. So now we have three options. One option is to say everything around us, it's coming from non-Muslim minds. So it's not Islamic. So haram, haram, haram. So al-badil, we want an Islamic order versus this Jahiliyyah, Dar al-Kufr, and whatever. Okay, we don't want this. So we just want to change. This is one option. So there are two models. The Islamic model versus the non-Islamic model. And if you have a non-Islamic model, you have to change with an Islamic model. One option. The second option is to say, in fact, as long as in the dominant model, the secular model, or the non-Islamic model, we are dominated, let us try to find a space to be respected, and that's it. It's not the ideal, it's not what we want, but we are a minority within a majority. We deal with the majority as long as the majority is respecting us, which is the mindset that we have in fiqh al-aqalliyat. So fiqh al-aqalliyat, we are a minority. The whole system is not Islamic. So let us have a niche, and within the niche, we protect ourselves as Muslims. And that's it. So one is, we fight until we change. We accept because we are a minority. And there is a third way, a third option. And this is mine. This is the way I look at it. Wherever I go, I'm just trying to follow in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. When he arrived in Medina, he arrived in Medina, he didn't look at Medina by saying, Kuffar, remove everything and come with our system. And he never thought, let us try to find a niche for us Muslims. No, this was not his case. Wherever you are, you look at the world around you. You look at the principles. And they are principles that are implemented in a society that are in accordance to Islam, even though they were not taught by Muslims. Which is the mindset of the Prophet ﷺ speaking about Hilf al-Fudul. By saying, Hilf al-Fudul based on justice, whatever you're belonging, I will come back to this, even after Islam, and this was before Islam. Hilf al-Fudul, he was young, he was not yet the messenger, والسلام, but he witnessed something which is completely in agreement with Islam. So you enter into a country, or you live into a country. You are Muslims in Kerala or in India. You look at the system. There are lots of things in the system that are not in contradiction with Islam. And you know what it is this? This is your Sharia in this country. This is not against your Sharia. You don't come with your Sharia against what is there. You look at it and say, that's me. That's me. Equal right before law, it's us. So why are we going to change this? This is Islam for us. So when, for example, I'm a Swiss citizen. It doesn't look so, but I'm a Swiss citizen. In Switzerland, you have the same rights before law. Is it Islamic? Yes or no? It is. Alhamdulillah, it's mine. So the mindset is not me against you. No, it's me with you in the name of principles. It's right, it's mine. The hadith is da'if, but the meaning, it's powerful. Al-hikmatu dallatul muslim. Its wisdom is the lost property of the Muslim. He should take, or she should take it from wherever he or she finds it. Meaning that the third way is, I don't have a problem. Many of the Indian law, even though they have not been taught by Muslims, are not against Islam. Many of these laws are yours. So why are you always in this mindset to clash? We think that we are right when we are able to tell you you are wrong. No, I'm right when it's right. And you know what? I might be right with you and you are right with me. It's not against. This mindset is wrong. So we need to get this as Muslims. In this country, many things in this country are good and you can take them as Islamic. They are Islamic because they are not against the Islamic principle. But now, there are many things that are not right. Not only from an Islamic viewpoint, but even from a human rights viewpoint. You have to change things. You have to remove. You have to change this society for the better. There are injustices. There are privileges for rich people. This we have to change. We need to be an agent against corruption in this country. For Muslims and for people of other faiths at the same time. So this is something that the Indian should do. The Muslim in India. Are you a driving force helping India to get a better legal system, a just order, more social justice, more respect towards women? We as Muslims, we should be at the forefront in anything which has to do with women's rights. You have the same skill as men, you need to get the same salary. Nothing could be accepted when it comes to rape in Islam. Nothing could be accepted when it comes to domestic violence. We are not. This is not our religion. So we should be the driving force in India, helping this society to be better towards women. Because there are lots of things that are not right towards women in this society, culturally speaking, socially speaking, and historically speaking. So we need to be this force. We need to come together. If and only if we understand Islam the right way, not in a distorted way as well. So this is yes. How do we have to deal with science? From an Islamic perspective, we are not scared of science. How do we merge Islam and science and knowledge? By doing two things. The first is knowing the principles from which we start to get knowledge. In fact, every science should be a useful science, serving humanity. So we don't promote science for the sake of money, or for the sake of power, or for the sake of destroying the world. We are promoting science for the sake of serving God and serving humanity. So the principle of knowledge should be clear. Now the goals should be ethical. And ethical means al-akhlaq. So we need to get knowledge to serve for the good, to serve for what is helping the people to have a more just order, a just society, a more availability of all the means for the majority of the people around the world. These are things that are important. So our understanding of science is not for the religious thought, the religious thinkers or thought, to impose onto science limits. No, we don't want this. Go and try to siru fil ard wanzuru. So you need to get the knowledge from wherever it comes, but with one condition: respect the principles and mind the objectives. Know what we want to do with this science. This is what we want. Ethical knowledge is not to prevent the people from thinking. Is to think for the better. Is to think for the more useful knowledge that is necessary in the world. The Arabic language. Arabic language is essential. You can't get the knowledge of the Quran. You can't get the knowledge of al-Ahadith and the Islamic tradition. So the language of the Quran is Arabic. The language of the Ahadith is Arabic. But be careful. The language of the texts is Arabic. But the language of Muslims is not only Arabic. Allah is telling us in the Quran, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, so this is also something, اختلاف ألسنتكم, so we know, خلق السماوات والأرض, so the fact that He created, and the fact that we have different colors and different languages. So your languages, the fact that you don't maybe speak Arabic, you need to get Arabic to be able to read the Quran, to understand the Quran, or to understand the Hadith. More than this, you need to have multiple languages. You need to be skilled with languages. So don't dismiss your language here, the language that you have in this country, and not only English, but all the languages are part of our tradition. It's very important to convey your religion into the language of the people, into the language of the land. So don't sacralize Arabic. Arabic is the way to get the Quran. It's not the only way to speak to people. It's not the only way to speak to yourself. When you speak in Arabic, you speak to Allah, you have dua in Arabic, but you can speak with your heart, you can speak with your language. He will understand. He knows all the languages. So don't underestimate your languages and nurture them. It's always good to have more than one language. Always good. It's always positive, and it's a sign of Allah's presence. He told you this, that the diversity, and you know, languages are not only means of expression, they shape your minds. It has a way of shaping your minds, the way you deal with the universe. So also something which is important in the way you deal with all this. Very quickly about taqleed and emotional addiction. Yes, I agree with this when you were saying taqleed and just repeating. In a way, it helps us to avoid critical thinking, and it could be emotional addiction because we just emotionally follow what was before us. Some of our brothers and sisters, in a specific period of time, in their own development, they feel that by imitating, they are going through a spiritual experience. And this also is should be respected, it's respectable. And we need to understand that these are steps, but taqleed, which is imitation by itself, it's not and cannot be something which is a way forward. We need to get this critical thinking, deep understanding in the way we deal with this. We were talking about فقه الأقليات. I said something. فقه الأقليات أنا عندي يعني مشكلة بالمصطلح نفسه. وأنا قلت هذا من قبل. ولكن الأفضل بما يخص الفقه الأقليات هنا في المجتمع الهندي المفروض يكون يعني في الواقع والسياق المحلي. ونفهم يعني ما هي الأولويات. لا يمكن أن نأخذ يعني منهجية فقه الأقليات في المجتمعات الغربية ونأتي بها هنا ونطبقها كما هي. لا يمكن هذا. فالمفروض أن نفهم السياق والواقع الهندي، وخصوصا يعني في كل المدن يعني الأمور تختلف. كثيرا يعني، وخصوصا الآن في المجتمعات العلمانية في الغرب ليست يعني نفس العلمانية هنا في الهند. فالمفروض أن نفهم ما هي الأولويات وكيف يطبق هذا في المجتمع الهندي. فمنهجية خاصة. وحتى يعني أنا عندي يعني مشكلة بما يخص فقه الأقليات. أنا أعتقد أنه الفقه هو الفقه، والمفروض يكون يعني فقه في المجتمعات ككل. وبعض المسائل التي يعني هي مهمة ونجدها في المجتمعات الغربية هي نفس المشاكل، نفس الواقع في المجتمعات ذات أغلبية إسلامية. والله أعلم. And how Islam is not a religion of peace. This was the last question. How Islam is not a religion of peace. What I was saying, when we say Islam is a religion of peace, it's as if peace is there. In fact, in Islam, peace, it's not something that we have, it's that something that we look for. It's we seek peace. Salamat al-nafs, it needs a jihad. In fact, it's strange, because it's exactly the opposite of what the West is understanding and many Muslims are understanding. In fact, there is no peace without jihad. While the people think that jihad is about war, in fact, the ultimate goal of jihad is peace. When I'm going through a jihad al-nafs, I'm trying to get inner peace. Tazkiyat al-nafs, jihad al-nafs is to get this peace. When I'm facing people who are oppressing or killing, I'm facing people, I have to go through a jihad to promote peace against oppression and corruption. So the ultimate goal of resistance in Islam is to reform the situation for peace, for a peaceful state. So when you say Islam is a religion of peace, it's as if you are promoting something which is passive understanding of peace. In Islam, there is no passivity with peace. Peace requires active commitment of human beings. We have to be committed to peace. You have to struggle for peace. You have to resist. And it means also to be courageous. No Sharia without jihad. No peace without jihad. Jihad in the very essence of its meaning, which means here that we are resisting the bad and promoting reforming for the good in order to get that peace. So peace is an ideal. It's not a given. It's not something that you have. It's something that you have to struggle for and to get out of your struggle in your daily life. So Islam is a religion calling for peace, calling every one of you, stand up, do what you have to do, struggle against your own nafs, your own ego, struggle against injustice, against corruption, promote what should be promoted, and do what you have to do. And I would say that this is where there is something essential in our understanding. And this also should be the case of understanding that peace and calling for peace change every one of us into an agent, a subject of her or his history. You can't just sit down and present yourself as victims, that they don't like Islam, they don't like us. That's not us. We have to stop this mentality, this mindset, and come as agent, an active agent. And I would say this also to my sisters, because today what we are hearing from the West very often, but not only in Muslim majority countries, the same, even here in India, is that women are discriminated in Islam and by Muslims. And many are saying that's not true. And many women are saying we are the victims of a male culture, patriarchal culture. And you cannot deny the fact that there are many things that are done by Muslims that are not Islamic. They are more cultural than Islamic. So stand up, do what you have to do. And you know what you have to do first is exactly what we have been talking about today. Get the knowledge, get the understanding, stand up for your rights, question and ask. there are a wide range of opportunities for women in Islam to be spiritually independent, intellectually independent, socially active. Solidarity and humanity, it's part of what it means to be a Muslim woman today. And this is to be done not against men, but with your brothers and sisters in Islam and in humanity, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
الشكر موصول للأستاذ الدكتور طارق رمضان. والآن يقدم الأستاذ علي باوتي نائب رئيس الجامعة الإسلامية جائزة تذكارية إلى ضيف شرفنا في هذه الأمسية، فليتفضل مشكورين. تم بحمد الله برنامجنا في الوقت المحدد. والآن ندعو الأستاذ محمد أشرف عميد كلية الشريعة بالجامعة الإسلامية لكلمة الشكر، فليتفضل مشكورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. رئيس هذه الجلسة وضيوفنا الكرام وأحبائي الأعزاء وأبنائي الطلبة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. فهذه كانت فرصة سانحة ولحظات مباركة فعلا كانت الجامعة تشتاق إليها منذ زمن طويل لتستضيف في رحابها علما فذا من أعلام العالم الإسلامي. فها هو ذا أمامنا، وكما قال المدير تحققت أمنيتنا، ونحن فخورون اليوم ومعتزون تماما باستضافة هذه الشخصية الذي قدم للأمة حفنة من الإنتاجات والإبداعات في مواطن العلم والفكر. فيا ربنا لك الشكر ولك الحمد على ما أتيحت لنا هذه الفرصة السانحة. وكما لا يخفى علينا أن ميدان التعليم والتربية ما زال ولا يزال يعتريه تطور ملحوظ وتقدم ملموس، فعلينا أن نساير هذا الركب العلمي مع التجديدات اللازمة لكي ترتقي به الأمة الإسلامية إلى قمة المجد والعزة. فلا بد من تبني هذه الأفكار التي قدم أستاذنا الجليل بالقلب والقالب، ولا ندعها كفكر ولا ندعها فكرا يطير على الهواء، بل نوصله إلى حيز التطبيق والعمل. فعلا أفادنا الأستاذ بكلماته الفياضة واستفدنا منه واستفدنا من أفكاره المثيرة. كان بودنا أن نستمع منه أكثر بكثير، ولكن ضيق الوقت حال بيننا وبينه. قديما قيل تجري الرياح بما لا تشتهي السفن، فصدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حيث قال: من لا يشكر الناس لا يشكر الله، من لا يشكر الناس لا يشكر الله. فوجب علينا الشكر ما دعا لله داع. فلا يسعني في هذا المقام إلا أن أتقدم أسماء آيات الشكر والامتنان بأصدق المشاعر وبأحسن الكلمات الطيبة النابغة من قلب وفي. فأقدم شكري وامتناني أصالة مني ونيابة عن الجامعة الإسلامية مديرا وإدارة وأساتذة وطلبة لأستاذنا الفاضل إلى صاحب التميز والأفكار النيرة، وإلى صاحب القلب الطيب، إلى صاحب النفس الأبية، إلى صاحب الابتسامة الفريدة، إلى من حارب وساهم بالكثير من أجل الأمة الإسلامية. ونشكر أيضا لعائلته الكريمة على تحملهم من أجلنا، على تحملهم بالكثير من أجلنا. فتعجز الحروف أن تكتب ما يحمل قلبي، بل ما تحمل الجامعة الإسلامية بأكملها من تقدير واحترام. فأتمنى لكم من الله عز وجل أن يعطيكم الصحة والعافية، وأدام الله عزكم ودام عطاؤكم. فجزاكم الله أن أفضل ما جزى العاملين المخلصين، وبارك الله لكم وأسعدكم أينما حطت بكم الرحال. وصدق الشاعر: لو أنني أنشدت ألف قصيدة لوجدتها في حقكم لا لن تفي. لو أنني أنشدت ألف قصيدة لوجدتها في حقكم لا لن تفي. شكرا لكم يرعاكم رب السماء، شكرا لكم يرعاكم رب السماء. كونوا كجسم واحد متكاتف، كونوا كجسم واحد متكاتف. شكرا لكم جميعا، وأشكر لكل من حضر وأثر هذه الجلسة بوجوده، فجزاهم الله أحسن الجزاء. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ya Ustad. This meeting, this conference is adjourned.
ولانتباه جميع أساتذة الجامعة الإسلامية، بعد أن صلوا صلاة العصر عليهم أن يجتمعوا في قاعة ابن خلدون لاجتماع طارئ واستقبال الضيف الكريم.